And we're live. Benz Jean, how's everything, brother?
I'm good, man. Good morning. How are you, Eric?
Great, great. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time and sharing your knowledge. Today's topic is pretty much fixing and flipping luxury homes. Let's just hear a little bit about you and how you started, who you are, and how you got into the business.
All right. Thank you again for having me. This is my second time with Nick, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. And well, my name is Benz Jean. I own a company called Lakai Homes, which is I'm a real estate investor. I started in this business almost 19 years.
Got it.
Yes, and I didn't start as a real estate investor. I started as a loan officer back in 2001.
Okay.
So since then, I have from 2001 to 2007, I work as a loan officer, and then from 2008 to now, I have been a real estate investor. Niggas in the back. I have been a real estate investor. So I started flipping in the urban area, Essex County. And from then, I kind of moved up, started doing single family homes, no more multi-families. And now I'm doing luxury houses right now as well too.
Awesome. So you started, so 2001 is when you began. That's kind of a bubble of its own that, we had the correction in that time where, we had the internet bubble and so on. So yeah, you definitely started off. Would you say you started before the bubble burst or after the bubble burst?
No, I started before the bubble. I work, me and Louis Leva, we worked together as loan officers back in 2001. And then, we made good money as loan officers. We had a great run. And then the market didn't crash until 2006, maybe 2007. So that's when the market crashed. And then, so since then, we've been doing our thing.
Got it. Okay, awesome, awesome. So and then you just pretty much moved over. Any reason why you switched?
Well, when the market crashed, I had to find my way. I didn't understand the new market because I started with stated income, those kind of things, and then everything started being FHA. I just didn't know how to basically find my way. But now I'm way better now, and then I'm it comes with a lot of experience.
Got it. Makes sense. And Benz, do you have a PowerPoint that you'll be going into? Because we're gonna start at 9:10, about 6 minutes. We're waiting for people to jump on and get a moving.
I didn't prepare anything because being back and forth, to decide, whether I was gonna be able to do it. So I made the time, after you told me I didn't prepare anything. So it will be just almost like an interview, and then for us to go live, I guess.
Okay. Would you want to be just kind of talking on your own, or would you want me to kind of be in it and talking with you, kind of going?
I think with you will be better.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. I'm very excited to for you to share your knowledge, brother. Real estate is definitely a big machine, a big vehicle that you can operate in. It has different niches, and you just pointed out yourself that there's so many things within, right? You went from one thing to another, but you still stayed in real estate.
Correct. It's a big trend. It's like I'm doing it with all my passion. I'm giving it all.
You are giving it all. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you say that. You said you're not prepared, kind of you're winging it, and most of the time you share more knowledge through that because we kind of go with what people will be asking. We will have some people asking questions, so whenever you have time, or I'll have time, I'll read all the questions and you can just answer them, and kind of be more interactive with the viewers.
I agree.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let me ask you about 2001, 2008 to 2020.
Oh, big difference, man. From where I started, from where I am right now in my life, it's a big impact and a lot of changes, ups and downs. It's not always, oh, I'm up. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, and it's a lot of changes. And every day is a learning process, and I'm still learning. And to be honest, it's like I'm not gonna sit here. It's like, oh my God, I know it all, but I do know a lot, but I don't know it all.
Right. There's always room to improve and grow.
Correct. I could meet with Nick, and Nick could tell me something. It makes a lot of sense. I might be doing something one way. I'm thinking it's the right way, but somebody else from a different perspective make me see it a lot different.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like Steve Jobs said, is like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, right? He makes sure of that. He's like, if I am the smartest guy in the room, I'm going to find it.
I agree.
Yeah, no. I myself, I started off a few years ago. Last year I was buying single families, and now I'm going to mixed use families. It just, you know, you change, you adapt, and you move, you evolve. And
correct. It's all about, you know, evolve. You know, doing things different. You can't stay in the same position. If somebody tells you like, oh, okay, I'm doing the same thing that I was doing 5 years ago, that's not gonna work.
Exactly. Yeah. There's either you can go up or down, but there's no neutral. Neutral is really going.
Exactly. And there's always room for improvement.
Exactly. Right. And like so talk about let's talk about economy. So you kind of went into 2001. You know, you passed to 2008, and now we're hitting 2020, and the economy is not as what it used to.
It's a little bit shaky, but the market is great. I can't really complain about the market, you know, right now, because I have a lot of properties that are listed. You know, we're getting over asking price, and you know, the market is great. It's pretty strong right now. I don't know how long it's going to be strong, but it's pretty strong right now.
Right.
I'm going to take advantage of it and go with the flow.
So what kind of advantage are you thinking of taking?
Advantage, you know, it's like you have a lot of buyers. You know, there's a lot of competition, and there's not as much properties out there. The inventory is definitely a problem. But somebody like myself who had a lot of inventories, this is the time, you know, I'm unleashing everything. I'm putting everything out there. Some of them I was in the middle of fixing them. Some of them I'm selling them as is.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you're really trying to get rid of your inventory?
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of my inventory, and then so maybe next year I could have.
So we get the distractions, people keep jumping in and out. But yeah, so you were saying, yeah, inventory wise?
Yeah, inventory wise, I have a lot of inventories. I'm basically getting rid of mine. Can you see?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get rid of my inventories right now, so I could, you know, be in a whole different. You know, next year I want to be able to get a lot more, like get into like apartment buildings, you know, start doing other things like that. You know.
Ben, so you mentioned something interesting. You said you're unleashing all of your inventory from things that are ready, things that are in the middle, and things that you'll be getting prepared to fix.
Correct.
So you're just pretty much listing it and going forward with it.
Yeah, I'm listing it. Some of them that I was in the middle of working, I'm finishing them right now. So, you know, they were like before COVID. That was like maybe 65% done. I'm finishing them right now, putting them in the market. And then the ones that I didn't get a chance to touch on. Right now I'm working on about 7 projects right now, but I can't do it all. So so some of them I'm just putting them out there.
Got it. So let's talk about the team that you got going on. I mean, 7 projects, you know, at the same time. You have contractors, you're an agent yourself?
Basically, on all my projects, I work almost like as a GC on all my projects. I have my own construction crew, and I manage all the projects. Sometimes, if it's not me, my assistant is helping managing, and we also have another guy who else managing the projects. There's times I can't be at all the sites. There's days I might only be in one site. There's days, you know, I might be on 3 sites.
Right.
So it's a lot of management going on to try to get everything going. And as far as like construction, you know, from starting in the business from the bottom. So basically, I learn a lot, you know. So I will, you know, I'm hands-on.
There you go. You have to be. Otherwise, you know, if you don't give it love, it'll just disappear.
Yeah. So I'm very hands-on. Like when I first started, I would hand a contractor a check just to do the work, but I didn't really know what I was doing. But right now with the experience, you know, I have a lot of say. So I know I want certain things to look. I know what finish I'm looking for, and I know how to save money.
There you go. Experience,
yes. But it's always a process. I learn every day. I'm still learning.
There you go. Always got to be learning. Always got to be evolving.
Correct.
So it is 9:10. Let's say hi to all the viewers who are tuning in right now. We have Benz Jean with us. My name is Yarek, who buys houses. I'm super excited for him to share his knowledge and his experience. He's been around since before 2001. He's been through 3 different cycles of economy, I would say at this point, moving into 2020. And we're going to be talking about fixing and flipping luxury homes before, during, and after COVID hits, right? So, Benz Jean, do tell, what exactly does it mean fixing and flipping luxury homes? What is that? What is that like?
Man, it's a hard job. And first of all, hi to all the viewers for tuning in. Fixing luxury homes is definitely not an easy thing. And, you know, I've done it. I have already assisted other people doing it. But me, I'm actually on my own right now. the process is not as easy as I thought it would be.
Okay. Okay. So what does a luxury home consist of, right? Versus like a regular home, or what exactly do you tune in? Do you focus in? Do you look at? How do you analyze a deal, right? What is a deal to you?
Luxury home is definitely more details.
Okay.
Details, you got to put a lot into it as far as like more, I wouldn't say passion, but you have to put a lot more into it as far as like the way it comes out to be good. Nobody's going to buy a home for $1.1 million or $1.6 million. And then the details, the finished work is not as good. You know, it's looking like a house that you've done, you know, as a rental. It's totally different. And then the costs are a lot more.
Got it. Okay. So you're talking about homes that are $1 million and above. That's
$1 million and above. Yes.
$1 million and above. Okay. What was the biggest sale price have you closed in a home in the luxury industry?
My biggest one was 1.3, but right now I'm working on 2 of them. I'm gonna actually create my own market. I'm taking a risk on this one. I'm gonna create my own market because the amount of work that
gave me goosebumps there. You gave me goosebumps there for a second.
So the amount of work that I put in, I felt like I deserve a lot more than what the going prices are going in that area.
Got it.
Yeah, but I put a lot of work in.
Okay. And before everybody tuned in, you mentioned you're pretty much putting everything that you have on an inventory on the market, right? You're unleashing your entire inventory. And 2 of the homes out of 7 that you currently have going on a project that you are pretty much want to create your own comps, create your own after repair value costs and prices in that area. Is that correct?
That is correct. In the luxury area, in some area, you definitely have the room to do it. Like, for example, I'm doing a home in Homedale right now. And the market, 1.3, 1.4. But with the kind of work that I'm putting in, the architect work I'm putting in with me and my architect working together to make this home look so amazing for the future homeowner. So definitely, I need at least 1.7.
Okay. So for the new guys out there in the industry who are tuning in and trying to find out what exactly is, fixing and flipping a luxury home, can you walk us through, the beginning? How do you find deals to, how do you get a contract? And you mentioned before that you are a GC yourself. You're kind of overlooking your process. So maybe we can later on tune in to figure out how did you get into that? How are you managing? What kind of software systems are you using? And so on. So let's just start off with simple stuff. Let's look at it. Like I am myself, a 9-year-old who has no idea what fixing and flipping is, and please explain to me, how do you usually go by finding a deal? Do you go through wholesalers? Are they on the market deals? What do you usually tune in to start your process from buying, acquiring, fixing to selling?
For me, being in the business for a long time, I have a lot of resources to find home, and I also do a lot of purchasing to the auction. I do a lot of online auction. Okay. I used to do a lot of sheriff before, and right now, like those homes, I basically got into the online auction. Even though they're on the auction website, I probably put in work as far as like 2 months prior than actually going live into the auction to purchase it. As far as all my comps, doing all my due diligence, all my searches to make sure everything, because it's a big risk. Right. I take a lot of time. Like, for example, this particular home, I would say that I've been working on it for at least 3 months before he actually hit the auction. I knew to a friend who had it listed, who couldn't sell it. And then he told me that they're going to be taking it to the auction. So I had enough time to do my due diligence. Got it.
So speaking of the auctions, right, because for myself personally, and I feel people around the RFP, they want to know what's going on in the auctions, like prior to COVID and during COVID. Are you still going out to the auction? Like, I mean, right now, all the shares.
There's not really any auction. All the share sales are postponed, even online. Everything is postponed until September 8th. There's not really much going on to the auction. So not much going on at this particular time.
So you pretty much, while everything was in effect before COVID, you were just really focusing on the auctions and purchasing your properties.
Yeah, I did a lot of purchasing, and I also do a lot of wholesaling. I buy a lot of properties to the auction, and then I wholesale to a lot of the investors.
Okay, so you have different types of cash flow, you know, different ways.
Yes. I do probably like, you know, not to be off subject. I do about like maybe 22 to 22 wholesale deals to keep the money coming in as I'm working on my projects.
Wow, good for you. That's respect.
So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot of work because, you know, I've been doing auction.com and other auctions website prior than everybody else who was already doing it. Where before I would bid at the auction, there's no competition. I would get it for whatever price I think that I want to pay for it. But in today's world, it's a lot of competition.
Do you think a lot of companies are going to get wiped out, or if they will get wiped out, why?
I didn't hear the last question.
So, do you think the competition will get wiped out, and if they are going to get wiped out?
There's gonna be a lot of, I think after COVID right now, there's gonna be less competition. It's only gonna be the the guys with the experience that's gonna stay. A lot of people's not gonna be able to sustain this because even same thing. Like I remember back in 2008, a lot of people left the business. They went into doing other things, and then me, my focus was this is something I always wanted to do since I was younger. You know, thanks God I had a little bit of money left after the market crash in 2008, and I was able to start another part of the real estate. Even though I wasn't in finance, I had already owned a couple homes, but I didn't really understand the method of investing. And then, so since the market crashed, I had to learn the hard way, and that's how I got here.
So you mentioned learning, right? So you learn. What would you say that you're taking away from that time of learning into moving into the forward of economy changing, right? So 2008 hit, you adapted, you learned. A lot of people, you know, got out of the game. You stayed in it. You had the passion for it. You know, you had the drive for it. You were persistent, and you kept on moving. So what did you do then that you succeeded that you're gonna do now moving to 2020?
Well, to me, it's almost like the same cycle. To me, it's almost the same cycle. So back then, I didn't have as much resources that I have now.
Got it.
I had very limited resources back in 2008. I didn't really know too many people, and we didn't have any social media. We didn't have any of those things. And so I didn't, you know, it took me at least from 2008 to 2011 to basically, for the business to start running. So I would say during those 3 years, it was more like of a learning process. I'm investing money. I didn't really know whether the money's coming back. So now it's a little bit different because now I understand I have resources. I have people I can call. I have other people that I bounce my ideas to that also help me. I'm not just here by myself saying like, okay, I do it all by myself. No, I have a lot of people that help me get, you know, where I am right now.
So Benz, when you say resources, do you mean like network? Is like people that you know and people?
Yeah, network. It's basically that's what I mean. From a hard money lender, from lawyers, from friends, from associates, from somebody I probably met at a networking event. They might bring something into the table where I never thought in a million years I'd be able to get that kind of information.
So the team, pretty much.
Yes, correct.
I always say, you know, network is a net worth, and I definitely believe in that.
I agree. 100%. 100%.
So besides auctions, how else are you acquiring your leads and properties?
Properties, I have a lot of realtors that I have a lot of good relationship with who works for a bank. They service all the properties for the banks. So usually I'll know about a property before it comes into the market. Maybe 2 months prior, they will be like, well, listen, I got this property that's coming up in the next 2 months. We have a tenant issue. We'll try to get the tenant out, or we're waiting on the owner to take cash for keys, you know, those kind of things. So I get those kind of information, and then and I always close. So the fact that I always close, they always, you know, they trust me, and then that's what I mean. So I'm always able to get like first dip, you know, in order to get this type of deals.
Got it. Okay. So pretty much, do you deal like, so you wholesale yourself, right? And
yeah, my wholesale, like if I pick up a property from the auction, I don't really wholesale it myself. I give it to a lot of people that I know that are wholesalers, and then basically they wholesale it themselves. And then, you know, I just let them know what my numbers are, and then if the numbers don't work for me, they don't work for them. Some way, somehow, we negotiate and compromise to make the deal happen.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. So you pretty much, so let's say you have it to the, I see it looks like you have the science down to the penny of when it comes down to the formula, how you get new deals, you know, what numbers. So you're already pre-framing, you're already telling the agents, the wholesalers, your numbers, right? You're telling them.
Yeah, I tell them based on my numbers, because this is the way I look at it. Coming from a finance background, so I work as a loan officer. I work for a hard money company. I work for regular banks. I already knew what LTV that the bank's going to look for in order for it to work. I'm not going to inflate the numbers. Like, for example, I would take the ARV, and then I know if it's going to be 65, or it's going to be 70. So what I always do, I work the numbers backwards. So if I'm at, instead of at 70%, I'll drop it down to 65. Still have room for the wholesaler to make his money on top, and for me to make what I need to make.
Got it. Okay. So we pretty much talked about, you know, how you're acquiring your property. Are you going through auctions? You have a network. You have agents. You have other wholesalers that are bringing deals to you. So you always have a flow going. You're always networking. You're always talking. So now let's say the numbers work, right? You are going to a closing table. You guys close. And what happens after that? And again, the newbies, be as descriptive as you can.
It depends. It depends. Every deal is different. Every deal is different. I might find a deal. It depends on the buyers. I have to do a double closing. I close on it. I close on the deal, and then so I sell them after at the table for more amount, and then whoever the wholesaler is, they have their assignment fee built into my cost. But there's deals I would not close on it. I would just sell them the LLC that I have, and then they take on the deals. It depends. Deals, like every deal is different. I would say the majority of the deals that I get, not every single one of them close at the same way. Every deal is different. But there's deals that I even get before I even got it to create my paperwork based on the relationship that I have with that person. I would say, well, listen, you want to take over the deal? Just pay me a fee, and then you can just take over the deal.
Got it. Okay. So pretty much, once you guys close, everybody gets paid, right? Because I believe that if the deal isn't closed, nobody's getting paid. Nobody's making money.
No, once the deal closed, usually I hire my attorney or I have my title company representing me. Once the deal closed, everybody's happy. Everybody goes their own way, you know. But the deal process itself takes almost like 3 weeks to 2 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. I have a wholesale deals I'm working on right now. It's almost 7 weeks. I haven't done it.
Yeah, okay. So pretty much once you guys close the deal, now pretty much the flipping kind of continues where, you know, the luxury home. How are you basing your renovations? Are you going by what people are doing in the area? You mentioned before that you want to get a new comm going in the area. So how do you usually structure your business where you close the deal, now the renovation is about to start? How do you structure the renovation?
For me, right now, it's with experience. I could go to a house, I don't really need a contractor to be there for me to know. It's a repetition. Once you do it once, you just keep repeating the same thing. I know if I'm doing a house in a certain area, I know electricity is going to cost me between $10,000 to $22,000 based on what I'm putting in the property. So I already know, like, let's say, for example, I'm working on my luxury home. I know the electrical is going to be about $22,000. Plumbing is about 20 grand. And then so I look at all the other stuff. I look at the material based on the amount of work that I'm doing. It's the same numbers. It's the same numbers, but except the numbers keep increasing in the luxury market. But it's basically pretty much the same thing. You're still buying your sheetrock. And, you know, the biggest problem with the luxury home would be the holding costs. It's a lot of money.
Taxes.
Taxes, $25,000. Taxes is $25,000. You're looking at, you got a mortgage. Mortgage is about $7,000 in holding costs. And then you got taxes.
Yeah, that's money. Yeah, $25,000. That can wipe you out.
That can wipe you out. So basically, by going into the deal, you already, most luxury homes don't sell right away. You got, once you get it done, you might say to yourself, it's going to take you another 3 to 4 months before you sell it. Anybody who's putting over $1 million I would consider them as a smart shopper. They do their due diligence.
Right.
Before they
specific what they want.
They're very specific. They know what they're looking for. It's not someone who just want to own a house like the American dream. No, there's no American dream here. So this is reality. This is big bucks.
Right. So you mentioned, so pretty much hard cost is purchase price and the renovation, right? And then we have soft cost, which is pretty much rent, you know, I'm sorry, insurance, you know, taxes, water bill, electricity bill, all the types of bills, and everything between. You have your agent's fees and so on. Because
big numbers.
Right,
big numbers. So by going into the deal before you even look at your profit, you have to take all these into consideration.
Right.
Are you really gonna make money? Because a lot of times I might predict that, like let's say for example, I might say the project was gonna take me 2 to 4 months of renovation, and you got something like COVID that happened right now. That's for 8 months. So then we got to figure a way, like, okay, how do I turn it around to make money? So that's why I spend a little bit more to give it more of a luxury home or more of a modern house, something that's never been done in the area. So at least I can get different type of buyers who's willing to spend that kind of money.
Okay, that makes sense. So now that you purchased the house, you already know what kind of renovation you're going for. Are they carbon copies? Are your luxury homes carbon copies? What I mean is like pretty much you're doing the same paint, same design, or is it like really tailored to that neighborhood or that even street or whatever it is?
Everything is different. Like what I do before I even buy the house, I'll go to open houses to see what the competitors are doing. I look at to see what they're doing. Pretty much, some of the stuff that they're doing, I put a little bit of myself into it, of my touch, and make it a little bit look different, more posh, more polished, more luxurious. So then I know I'd be able to get a little bit more money. So everything is different. Like sometimes I might have in my head, I'm going to use that paint, but then I might go to another luxury home or somewhere else in another area. I see how they done it, and then I basically copy from it. Or I might look at somebody on Facebook who just design their home, and then I took the idea from it. I'll and then make it happen. Because I'm always learning.
Right. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're just making sure that you come out profitable.
That's correct.
All right. So we went through pretty much acquiring the deal, working on numbers. You go into purchasing it. Now you're going throughout the neighborhoods, looking at what people are doing. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want to make sure that the comps are similar to your design, right, to your finishes, and then you get it on the market. So tell us about like I like to say the biggest risk in all real estate is pretty much the contractors, right? So you took on it yourself. You were like, you know what? I'm gonna have full control of it. I'm gonna go ahead and actually be the GC, be the general contractor.
Correct.
So tell us about how'd you get into it, and like how does that work for you? Do you have systems? Do you have team members that you count on?
Well, for me, after many years of losing money of contractors that stealing my money, never finished the job.
Yep.
I had to find a way, a solution, basically, because a lot of times I hire contractors, they tell me it's going to cost me a certain amount, and then basically it's always come like unforeseen stuff, cost me another 20 grand, another 30 grand, and then it wasn't part. That's my profit they actually take it.
Right.
Or end up in a bad position with them because they can't finish the job, and it's always over budget. Even with me, I'm still over budget on certain things. But I try to, at least I'm honest with myself. But with them, they're not honest with me. After losing so much money with contractors, so now it kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have to roll up my sleeves and then, to basically put my own team together, in which all my guys, they own payroll with me, and then I put them together. I know who can do certain things. I know what everybody's weakness. I know which one of my guys is good with sheetrock. I know which one of my guys is good with paint. I know which one of my guys is good with framing. So we always have a deadline. And so with the deadline, so on Sunday, I will create a schedule. Okay, we want to have this done by Wednesday. We want to have this done by Friday. Because at the same time, because I also get draws from my hard money lenders. So I want to make sure I meet the target because in order for me to keep the project flowing. So
for guys who are new, can you talk about more about what is a draw from a hard lender?
A draw is basically, it's almost like a 2 or 3K. Like when you buy a house, basically the hard money lender, provides you with the construction money. And so when you're creating the construction budget, so you have to list everything you're going to do on the property. And then basically they come and do an inspection and they pay you a certain percentage based on the work that's being done.
How many draws do you usually structure? 4 or 5? How do you like to structure?
It depends. On some houses, like I got one houses that I'm doing in Newark. They break down the drawing into 5 categories. But it just happened this time around. I have a little bit of money. I didn't take no money at all. I did it myself, and at the end, I just called them, and they just gave me one lump sum.
Got it. So you put up your own cash
to do it, but not all the time. I can always do it. A lot of times I don't have money.
Of course, yeah. You have some projects going on.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, I don't have the money to do it. So sometimes I might have, let's say, if it's a $50,000 budget, it might be 5 drawers of 10,000. But there's times when the money start running out, I'll call the company and let them know, like, listen, instead of doing 5, 10, what about we do 10 5s? So at least I can get it done.
Exactly. So you mentioned something about you know, contractors giving you a quote, right? Time goes by and they realize, hey, I gave you too little of a quote. The price got to go up. Got to go up. And you've been seeing that more and more and more while you were dealing with other contractors.
Yes.
Now, you're your own GC. Do you see that happening still the same amount, or how does that?
It happens. It happens sometimes. To be honest, you know, it do happen. Even a lot of stuff. A lot of times, on certain things, I under budget myself. That happens. But more and more, I'm getting a little bit better.
Got it. So experience.
I'm getting a little bit better. But there are many times, you know, I'm thinking the project's only going to cost me 40, end up costing me 60,000. So which is $20,000 over budget. But the difference is with me, I know where the money's spending. With the contractors I used to have, the money's not going into the projects. So they're not even showing up for work.
Right. Right. Okay. Makes sense. Now, for those who are viewers, please do comment or, you know, ask your questions. We'd love to answer them. Be as engaging as possible, and we'll just keep on moving and answering questions and so forth. So you know, whenever you budget for something, it doesn't work out that way. It's funny because I was talking to a seller and he's like, well, why don't, you know, you guys make so much money? Because like you have such big spreads, you know, usually it's like, you know, ARV would be, meaning after repair value, let's say 100,000, you know, the deal is 65, you know, you buy 50. Again, you're talking about $1 million deals. We're not talking about, you know, the $100,000 is just your renovation budget probably on your luxury deals. And so you're seeing yourself that you have to make sure that you know, you're winning by budgeting to everything. What do you think, or like, is it the plumbing that usually is the biggest issue that you've been seeing, that the money kind of whenever you budget for it, that, you know, overspending, meaning the budget is not similar to it? Because like, I'm guessing you're doing full guts, right? Is that the case?
Yeah, and some of them might do full guts, and some of them might do a little bit of a rehab. A lot of times, it depends. There's different things. Like, I might go into a project. I said I'm not going to change your furnace, because remember, you're buying a home that's been sitting there forever, and then as you turn on the furnace, you come to find out there's a problem with it. So now you got to buy, let's say if it's a multi-family, you got to buy 2 furnaces. That's going to cost you maybe $1,200, $1,300 based on the size of it each. That's already 26. Then labor. Then you got to buy all the plumbing materials and everything. So right then and there, you're already spending an extra 5.
Right. So how do you do your due diligence when you buy properties on auctions, right? Do you still go through the properties? How does that work?
Yeah, I always do. For this property I have bought unseen based on certain information that I got, but there's properties that I bought, like I have access to go into the property, take a look at it, and do my due diligence, what's needed, you know, those kind of things, as far as like, you know, how much of a repair it's going to cost me to do it. But this time too, that, you know, I'm not always right. Got it.
So when you do your due diligence, right, when you walk into a property, what is the main things you look at, right? So for the newbies, let's say.
Main thing I always look at is plumbing, electrical, or sometimes I look at like based on foundation to make sure the foundation is good, and you know, those kind of things. And a lot of times when property's been sitting there for a long time, you have water damage as far as like the beams, those kind of things. That's where you're gonna spend like the major money and stuff like that. I try to pay attention, look at the walls to see water has run through the walls, so that I'm not replacing a lot of the stuff. Like a lot of times, you know, you're thinking that there's not that much garbage, but like when you're thinking like the walls are not damaged, and when you get into it, the walls are damaged, it's not like you can put another sheet back on top, so you have to do it. Then you end up spending more money on dumpsters, and that's one thing, like, you know, I learned a lot. Like you're thinking like, okay, you're not gonna do that much demolition. You end up doing so much demo, and then you end up getting like 5, 6 dumpsters. Dumpsters run from 600 to 800.
Right. Plus time. Yeah.
Labor, everything.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So So now we talked about purchasing, you know, how you find your deals, you move it over to actually acquiring them, to renovating them. Are you using any kind of tools to keep track, right? The financial education is definitely a big thing, the big risk in this, or not even a risk, but a tool that is must needed by every investor, even contractors. And I realize that contractors, you know, that sometimes they're not financially educated. They're great with their hands, right? But you know, we were asking of them to do a great job and make sure the money is properly spent, right? And those two different things, you know, quality of work and actually spending the money properly, you know, on their guys and the inventory and so on. How are you? What type of tools, if any, are you using to manage the projects, to make sure that things get done on time and so on?
On that part of the business, my assistant usually is the one. You know, I'm trying to remember the name of the system that she used. She managed everything. So like anything we purchase from Home Depot, we use a pull account. When we use a pull account for every receipt that comes into our email, she put in some type of system to do it. From payroll, she added up everything. From buying from another hardware store or anywhere else, she put everything in, budget everything herself. And as the numbers is getting closer, we're not nowhere near or finishing the project. So we'll be like, well, this project, this is where we at. This is how much it's costing. Like, you know, that part of accessibility, it's been done in the office. And basically, whenever there's a red flag or they see that we're spending a lot more money than expected, somebody in the office will bring that to my attention to let me know.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. So we have a question here from. Can you see the questions on your end, or it should be onto your right? Benz.
Yes.
So, yeah. The first question is he buying fixer-upper luxury homes? So are they you know,
hold on one second.
Grease, get in and out type of thing, or you're pretty much buying full guts?
No, it's not. It's not pretty much full guts. Most of the luxury homes, believe it or not, they're not that much damage.
Got it. A lot of people.
They're not that much damage. Usually, for me, it's always the layout. Like, I'll change the layout. They're not full guts. They're usually in good condition. It's the layout, like sometimes that doesn't make any sense to the new millennials, you know, to the younger generation. And, you know, certain things, they need more space. I'll create more space. Or the bathroom is open, instead of opening to the left, it's opening to the right, you know, those kind of things. So a lot of times you end up spending money, or like I'll get a luxury home, the basement is not done. I know I'm going to create a movie theater downstairs. I'm going to put a wine rack. I'm going to create different things that's going to sell. I'll add those things in order for me, as you know, to make more money.
Got it. Now, the second question is, are you buying small cape and ranch and converting them into luxury homes? Meaning, are you, you know, value add in a way where you're increasing square footage? Are you increasing floors? Are you increasing? Are you changing something about the house physically?
I have. Like, let's say, for example, on one property right now, the closet space were very tiny because it was at a pitch roof. So basically, a raised roof in order to have more closet space. And what I did, even in the closet, believe it or not, I had a window. I added lights in the closet to make them feel like it's very luxurious. And then in the bedroom, I added a sliding door, and I created a deck that they'd be able to look at the garden. I'm very visual, a lot of vision.
Nice. Okay.
I added a deck. So the deck wasn't there before. So I added a deck for them to look at the outside. And you know what else? In the front of the house, the roof might be pitching one way, and I felt like it's kind of closed in. I want them to have more of a open space. So I will raise it up as well. And same thing, the kitchen in the family room, I want them to basically flow together. I look at different ideas. I get different ideas from different people, and then I put all of that together. And then that's basically what I'm doing in most of the houses.
So, Benz, you mentioned you being creative, right? Are you taking the creativity within you, or are you looking at other, Pinterest or whatever it is that you get ideas, or like Homes Next Door that pretty much give you some kind of a guidance when it comes down to seeing a vision, right? Because like you see a home that needs some love, you know, how do you bring that love out of you into the home?
Basically, I learn from everybody. I look at Facebook posts, look at Instagram posts. I go to open houses, and I also have a young architect that works with me, very young, very young architect who has a lot of ideas, very futuristic. A lot of ideas is really good, but sometimes it could cost me a lot of money. So that's where I
don't want to say that. Yeah.
Listen, I understand you want to do this, but it's a lot of money. We can't do this because he works in the city. He has a lot of vision. He has more vision than anybody I ever met. And he's young. He's young. But sometimes I got to look at it and say, well, do I really go with the idea that he's giving me? What's going to be my return? Because I'm a money guy now too. So I got to make sure the numbers make sense.
Right. So speaking of the numbers, so the other question Frank had is pretty much can you explain what it looks like, a luxury home, like meaning what determines a good opportunity for you, right? So the numbers got to work, right? But so for example, a newbie, he's walking down the street, he's seeing luxury home, and he sees a distressed home, let's say. So what exactly does a distressed home to you, or what is a deal to you that pops up? You're like, you know what, I like this. Is it more the area? Is it more the size? Is it more, days on market in the area? What exactly do you look for that, you're like, okay, I'm buying this one. And are you always focusing on one neighborhood, or is it one town, one city, one, state?
No, I focus, not one town. I'm driven by numbers. And first, somebody who's getting into business, I would never advise them to start a luxury home. They got to start in like a meat potatoes, something from 200 that you're going to sell in the 299s. Makes a lot more sense than going into something bigger. It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of carrying costs, or maybe they might, unless they have a lot of money, that would be totally different. But for me, it's all about the numbers to make sure the numbers gonna make sense. So like I said to you, I always analyze a deal like I'm a hard money. Mm-hmm. Even though if I'm using my own money or I'm using somebody else's money or my investor's money, I analyze it like I was borrowing money, like I'm going to a bank. This is what they're going to look at for the numbers to make sense. Because if you go somewhere like they're lending you on 65% of the ARV, so I always want to be between 65, even though I know a lot of times hard money is lending you all the way to 75. I try to stay within 65. I'm old fashioned. So to make sure, just in case something happened, there's still enough room for me to make money.
Okay. Makes sense.
Then, and I also do it for the passion, not just for the money. And just for the passion for me to take something from nothing, as it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. You're looking at a home, the way it looks, so distressed, and then now you make it into that big, fabulous house. And then I'm asking myself, is it really me doing it? You understand? Because it's challenging. It's more of a challenge for me as well too.
Got it. So two things can you explain to the guys who have never done a deal before? What is hard money? And what is it that you struggle? You said you work a deal backwards.
Yeah, hard money is a short-term loan, not offered by a traditional bank, which is basically the percentage are a lot higher, and it's a lot easier to get money than traditional bank where they would be asking for a lot. Traditional bank don't really lend money on a short-term project. Hard money is a short-term money that you could borrow for up to a year, 6 months, sometime a year. And there are times, like that would be the money that's a lot easier for you to access, where they require 20%, 15%, 20% of the purchase price. And that's basically how it works. And for those of you guys that, just getting into the business, so I would say it's like, look at the hard money. There's a lot of companies in New Jersey that you can borrow money from. And usually as a newbie, they're very skeptical to give you money, because even when I was a newbie, I couldn't borrow money. Nobody wanted to give me money.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, right? And speaking about hard money, I like to view them as a partner. So meaning if you extend the deal to a hard money and say, whoa, we're not taking this, ask the question why, and they're not being rude or, they don't.
No, I always look at it that way too. It's very, very risky. And you got somebody that, let's say, for example, you're looking at what I said, analyze the deal. Let's say you're a newbie, you getting a house for $200,000 and you got to put 20% down, which is $40,000, whatever it is you're putting down, and they lending you, they paying for the rest of the money. They're actually your partner because they have more money in the deal than you are.
Right.
The risk is for the hard money. They're not in business of selling homes or remodel homes. They're in business of lending money, so they want you to perform.
Right. So Benz, Right. So they purchase the house, right? They give the hard money, gives the money for the purchase of the house, and they also put up the money for the renovation, correct?
For the renovation, which is they give you a draw. For the first 10%, usually you have to come from you to start the draw. And then they reimburse you. Every time they come, they reimburse you based on the percentage. A lot of times, you know, hard money will come even though you're asking for a draw of, let's say, 10,000. The inspector might came in based on the percentage, they're only giving you 8,500, or they're only giving you 8,000. But there are times too, you have done more than the 10,000. They might give you a little bit more, but most of the time they always give you less.
Right. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So pretty much go again. So draws, right? Draws is pretty much you have a budget of $100,000 of renovation costs, right? That's pretty much for you, plumbing, electrical, everything, sheetrock, from A to Z, from from renovation to painting. Now let's say you divide it into 5 draws. That means 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. That adds up to 100,000. And so the question that we have here is, how do you determine the rehab costs, right? So how do you come up with that?
I determine the rehab costs. Usually with me, like I said, it has to do with experience. Okay. And basically, I always consider myself as I'm not a contractor, but based on my experience, how much money it usually costs me to do certain jobs, and I usually analyze it to know how much money it's gonna cost. Like what I do, I'll go into the house, I'll look at it, and I say, okay, if we're gonna need plumbing, this is how much I'm taking the plumbing is gonna be.
Right.
How much the electrical is gonna be. How much sheetrock, how many doors we have to repair, how much tiles. Like for every project is different. Like this project, I might use a 99-cent tile. This project, I use a $4 tiles. You know, it's different. This projects, I'll probably use cabinets. Maybe that costs me $2,000. This project, cabinet cost me $4,000. So it's all in my mind, my vision, knowing exactly what I'm gonna put in that property. Like every property is different.
Right. So Ben, so what I pretty much get out of what you're saying is you didn't start out being a general contractor yourself. What you did is you hired guys that would come in, give you scope of work. Now, did you get more than one scope of work per project when you started off?
Yes. When I first started, I would get at least three estimates from 2 different contractors. One of them might be high, one of them might be in the middle, and one of them might be low. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Right. So before, when I first started, I usually get like at least 2 to 3 different contractors to get 3 different numbers. And based on my budget, whatever I could afford at the time, that's who I would go with.
Got it. Okay. So it makes sense. So just like a doctor, always get a second opinion.
Yes, it's to be safe. And especially somebody who's just getting into the business, it's always best that you get a good referral instead of just picking up somebody, you know, from the outside or from online or whatever. But I know I'm a little bit old-fashioned. Me, I like referrals, like for someone who had experience of working with somebody, and it makes a lot more sense for me.
So, you know, it's funny, if you don't mind, I share a little experience on my end. I purchased a property, right, and I had about like 4 different contractors. At that time, I was shopping around for contractors, and it's a family, it's a single family home in Philadelphia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Every single contractor that came out to that house found an issue that the other contractor didn't, right? Cool. One guy was like, oh, you have an active oil tank. And the other guy's like, you have a crack in the foundation. The other guy's like, well, you're missing pipes in the basement, right? And all the different guys, you know, they all saw it. And the craziest thing is I had an inspection done on our property, and the inspection guy missed all those things. Right? He said, I have an HVAC system, gas HVAC system. I have an abandoned oil tank. You know, I have copper pipes in the basement. I have no structural issues. Meanwhile, you know, I have all these contractors go through like, oh, did you know? Oh, did you know? And I'm like, no, I did not. I already closed on the property, but I did not know those things, you know? So again, you know, it definitely
happens. It happens. It's always good to have different, you know, different opinion. And even with my team, a lot of times it's not only me. I would look at a property myself, and then somebody in my team will look at it and then like, okay, this is what it is. And then at the end of the day, we all either on the phone or sit at the table, try to figure the best way to, you know, to make it work.
Exactly, exactly. So we have another question from Pierre. If you were starting from scratch, what are the first 5 things you would do knowing what you know now? So meaning like, from your experience, what are the first 5 things you've learned that you would strongly suggest to a newbie?
To a newbie, first, you know, get as much resources about the property. Find out how you're going to be able to close on the property. If you have money, you know, to close on the property. Make sure that, one thing I learned though, I would say is that when you first started, make sure you're able to, you could afford it. Because if not, you don't want to start a project and the project basically not finishing because you don't have money.
What does that mean? You can afford it.
What does that mean? So what I mean is that a lot of times, like when I first started, for me, whatever little money I had, I put all of it out. And anything that happened in the project, I had no other money in order to sustain the project.
Right. So would you suggest for a newbie to quit their job and jump into
No, I would not. I would not. So I'm just not one of those guys saying real estate is great. No, I would never say quit your job. At least do 3 to 4 projects, and based on the turnout of the projects, then you could decide you could do this full time. So with me, you know, I went full time because I was already in the finance business. You know, I had a little bit of a cushion, and it was a little bit different because everybody's thing's gonna be different.
We're special, but it's
So I would never tell somebody, go ahead, oh, real estate is so great, you're gonna make tons of money. You are gonna make money, but it's not gonna happen in your first project.
Would you say that a first deal for any new investor should be very lucrative in numbers? You know, the spread should be a lot bigger because there's a lot of room to make mistakes. Because
your first project is your college tuition. You're paying.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Well, is there any like, well, for newbies, where would you say for them to start? How would they start? Like, you know, I'm a new guy, no idea, but I want to get into it. Right, luxury homes, something I was always passionate about. I want to get into it. What would you suggest me doing and not doing?
I would say for a new guy, if they could get a mentor, somebody to hold their hands, and that's definitely, I would say, the main thing for them to do. Try to do a project or partner up with somebody first for you to learn the ropes and then understand the projects. Because like if you're also putting time is money, and then you cannot afford to lose money either. So I would say your first project, if you go get a mentor or get involved, get as much resources as you can before going into the project. Like don't just jump into it. That would be my advice.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. So you know, get a mentor, you know, network. You know, figure like kind of get a foundation of people around you, get smart people around you, right?
Yeah, so you understand the whole business, not just like a lot of times people flipping. You gotta understand the title, the money. You gotta understand like everything that the contract. You have to understand what you're signing. You have to understand. There's so many parts of the business. A lot of times, like what I usually find, a lot of people, they want to get into the business, but they don't really take any time to learn anything. They just thinking about the money. No. Right. Put time in investing in yourself for you to understand it.
So Benz, we have Elaine question. She's asking the question: Are you mentoring?
I was doing before COVID, and right now with the amount of work that I'm doing, trying to get rid of all my properties, it's basically on hold. But maybe hopefully next year I'll be able to get back. It's going to be mainly online. But I was doing that. I had about 11 students right before COVID. And right now, with the amount of work that I have, I'm unable to basically mentor right now. But if anybody's willing to come to my project sites or whatever, I'm willing, you know, whatever little information, because it's a passion for me. It's not even about the money. It's more so like it's a passion. If they want to come to my project sites, they have a few questions, I'll be glad to be able to help them or give them any type of advice that I can.
It sounds like money is a bonus for you.
Money is not a bonus. Money, we all need money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But as I'm doing this business, you know, I learn so much. It becomes a passion. It becomes a passion for me. So most of the time when I first got in, money was the thing that driven me. It's like, okay, you got to get in. But as I'm doing it, it's like, you know, for me taking a house, a raggedy house, to make it to a nice house that a family gonna live in it, you know, I take more pride on that I'm gonna deliver a nice project. And then I want to be able to sell a property to someone and then they enjoy it. Like, you know, from where it was before, from what it is now, you know, I take more pride in that.
Makes sense. Okay. So we have a few minutes left. So we went through acquiring the property, you know, renovating the property, and now it's ready to sell. What exactly does that mean?
What it means is that, you know, basically you acquire the property, you purchase it.
No, you're good.
1 second.
One second. Yeah. Continue, Benz. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, so basically you acquire the property. After you acquire the property, you do the construction work. Construction work is done, you pass all your finished inspection, you got your stickers, it's like you get your report cards. Once it's done, you hire a realtor, the realtor put it in the market, and basically the hard money company or your investors get paid, and basically whatever's left is yours, and then you move on into the next project.
Did you start your second session?
I did. Give me 1 second, Benz.
All right, take your time.
Yeah. So pretty much. So you go through the whole. Do you stage your property? Is that something that you do?
Yes, I do. Most of my single family homes, I usually stage.
Got it. Okay. And do you suggest to everybody to do that, or is there a reason why you do that?
It depends. Right now, the way the market is so hot and strong. If you can, like there's properties I said I was going to stage before. I said, let me try out and see if I put it in the market. I'll put it in the market. If I get a contract with it one day, no need to be staging it. But there are times I have property I didn't stage, like I did a property in Colonia. I didn't stage the property. I had it in the market for almost 30 days. I couldn't sell it. Then I took it off the market and then I staged it. Within second day of staging it, I have it above asking price.
Wow. So look at that. You know,
sometimes it's not always good to be cheap, but sometimes it's good. You got to try it out.
We have a question from Frank. How can we get on your wholesale buyers list, right? Because you're wholesaling deals. How can they get on your buyers list?
How can they get on my wholesale buyers list? I have a lot of website. I have MrBenzJean.com. They could just log in. And I could get their information. Anything about my name, I have like usually a login sheet. Once that come in, somebody in my office will automatically put them on the mailing list.
Got it. Is there any other way that people get into contact with you? In case they want to get the mentorship, they want to get into your buyers?
My office is located in Linden. We are 225 Northwood Avenue in Linden. We are Suite 6 in Linden. And our office number is 908-925-2308. And we also have they could always get a hold of me, Benz Jean, on Facebook, which is my name. And then also they could always look for me on Instagram. They could DM me, whichever way. There's so many different ways. And I have many different other websites, online. They should be able to get in contact with me. I'm easy to get in contact.
What's the best way of contacting you? One way to say.
One way is to call my office. That would be
there. You go. And what's the phone number again? One more time.
My office number is 908-290-3902, and also I have 908-925-2308.
Got it. And we have one last question of the day. What was a typical day when you first started compared to a typical day as now?
What is it? Can you repeat
what is a typical day when you first started compared to what a typical day is now?
Big difference. Like when I first started, I was more like a newbie, and I was willing to learn and putting all out in order for me to understand the business. And then for now, it's more of a little bit different. I'm more of a vision kind of guy right now, going into a deal than me wanting to get into deals in the beginning where I didn't know anything. So right now, I think I pay my dues right now.
Got it. Awesome. That's awesome to hear. And so do you have any other feedback or anything that you would want to share with anybody before we leave? I mean, you could also stay on because I'm going to jump on another call for the second class that we have going on for this room. And yeah, you can stay on it if you want. Can you see the questions on your right side?
No, not on my screen.
Okay, give me 1 second. General, sounds. Nick, how do we let the viewers see the questions?
No, they can see it.
Oh, you can.
I can't see anything.
Let's see viewer comments right now.
Yeah, you can.
You can open up the comment tab, Benz. It's on the right.
Oh, he's on call.
Yes, I did.
You good?
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me?
It's fine.
Okay.
All
ready to go live?
Yes. So you just open up on the right. Is your screen fully open? Fully.
Mine, yes.
I'm sorry. I'll put your screen up.
So we also have thanks for your time, Yarek and Benz. I'd love to provide any value that you can, guys, in helping with your day-to-day operation. I am an aspiring wholesaler from New York City, working on New Jersey. So you see, people are reaching out. People definitely going to be contacting with you. And again,
pleasure. It's my pleasure. So I will definitely, any way that I could help, anything I could bring to the table, I'll definitely be able to.
Awesome. Happy to hear that. Well, be good, Benz Jean. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Be good.
Good.
There's a lot of value to this.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, and then once you're done with your presentation, and then